Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Oakland. My name is Evelyn Seidman, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here. Here at First Unitarian, we believe that the holy is found in all of creation, and that it is how we live out our values in the world that is our saving grace. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, and whatever your struggle or your hope, you are welcome here. If this is your first time here, please fill out a guest connection card and leave it in the offering plate as it passes by so that we might learn your interests and keep in touch with you. If you want to learn more, please meet with Emily Stoper. I believe she is volunteering for that, down here in front of the chancel after the service for a brief introduction. And we have a few announcements today. First, our coffee hour after the service is moved to the Star King room instead of the large hall, Venti Hall. So keep going in that direction till you get to the Star King room. Secondly, because of the ordination of Kevin Mann to be held this afternoon at 4 p.m., there will be a reception to follow, and I believe people are welcome to attend, whether they've RSVP'd or not. I'm not sure. Okay. I understand there will be a lot of food at the reception. Thirdly and lastly, the Journey Towards Wholeness monthly meeting, which is normally on the first Sunday of the month, is going to be shifted to next Sunday. Thank you very much. And let's see. I think I've covered everything.
You did. Thank you, Evelyn. A few years ago, I was at a restorative justice conference, and at one of the workshops, the workshop leader asked us a question. He said, "What is it that is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?" And so popcorn style, people shouted out, "Oh, I have my first cup of coffee," or "I walk my dog, I go to the bathroom, I kiss my sweetheart." He said, "No, the first thing you do when you get out of bed is you step on stolen ground." So we acknowledge that this land, that this church is on, that our homes are on, and our institutions were stolen from the Mweka Ohlone peoples. These peoples have an ancestral relationship with the land, with the plants, with the water, the animals, for millennia. A continuous relationship up to this day because Ohlone people are still here. We also recognize that the Ohlone ancestors in spirit and of the land are present. May we be respectful and gracious guests. In solidarity with all Indigenous people and their right to self-determination and justice, we commit and recommit to working toward accountability of the theft and the dispossession and the resulting trauma that Native peoples continue to face. We commit to being active partners toward the healing of the intergenerational trauma which persists to this day. And so may we live.
As Unitarian Universalists, we begin our time together by lighting our chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Please join me in reciting our chalice lighting words, and if you know the accompanying motions, please embody those as you are willing and able. We light this chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism. May it remind us of the divine spark in all creation, the power of love to heal what is broken and to be grateful for life's blessings each day.
Oops. And we light our peace candle this morning with words by the 14th Dalai Lama. Peace can only last where human rights are respected, where the people are fed, and where individuals and nations are free.
And finally, we light our Black Lives Matter candle. We light our Black Lives Matter candle today with words by Audre Lorde, Black American queer poet. It is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences. So together we say, Black Lives Matter. Now let us begin our worship service by saying together in one voice, "Come, let us worship together." And now Laurel will lead us in the gathering song, and Jossie, number 389.
If you'll please stand as you're willing and able. We will sing it through one time in unison, and then after that, we'll divide it into two parts. I'll lead this half, and we'll begin, and then Jossie will lead the other half, and we'll do it 3 more times then as a round. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Spirit, draw near. Thank you.
Now please join me in responsive reading number 584 by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. I will begin. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted.
Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that.
We must evolve for all human conflict, a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation.
The foundation of such a method is love.
Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamation of peace and our lowly deeds, which precipitate and perpetuate war.
One day, we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal we seek, but a means by which we arrive at our goal.
We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means.
We shall hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. Do you want to greet each other? Let's just take a few minutes to mingle and say hello, and then we'll call you back. Come on back to your seats, folks. More conversation after the service. You can remain standing if you like, because our next hymn is Come and Go With Me. It's number 1018 in the teal hymnal. Are you ready? Come and go with me to that land. With me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. One of the ways that we weave our tapestry of love we call community together is by taking time each Sunday to share our joys and sorrows. And today I'd like to begin with both a joy and a sorrow. The joy is, as we've mentioned, that at 4 o'clock this afternoon in this very sanctuary, we and many more people will gather on this auspicious day to ordain Kevin Mann to Unitarian Universalist ministry. You can see the decorations are already up. This is also the first day of the history of Filipino, history together, and it's also the LGBTQ month. So we've got some flags that reflect both of those joys. The sorrow I have is that one of our longtime beloved members, Charlotte Dixon, has just recently found out that she has cancer. So we have permission to share this news with you all, and I'm sure that Charlotte and her husband Jack and their 2 daughters, Eliza and Lydia, would appreciate your support. If you send them cards or call, you're welcome to do that, but please know that they may not have the time or energy to respond to each of us. And also, Jack's sister, Peggy Macy, is going to make a Caring Bridge site, and so that's a place where we can make our comments and gestures of support and tributes as Charlotte begins her journey. And so now, at the sound of the bell, I invite you to speak out loud those joys and sorrows that you carry in your hearts today. I want to thank. For all the words that have been spoken, and for those that may be too tender to speak out loud, let us say together, we hold them in our care. And now, if you'll join me in a time of centering and meditation, followed by a pastoral prayer. Great mystery, known by many names, Spirit of life, divine spark, God, Gaia, Vishnu, Allah, Yahweh, mystery beyond all words and beyond all naming. Luminous light and dazzling dark, connect us with all that is and all that was and all that will be. Wondrous love, flowing and glowing, radiant within each of us, between us, flowing among us and beyond us. We give thanks for this precious day and for the gift of our breath. May all of us find comfort in our tender, wild hearts, knowing that we are held in the embrace of this community and of that love that will not let us go. May our resolve to build the world we dream about be strengthened and sustained as we recommit ourselves to accept life's gifts with grace and gratitude and use them to bless the world in the spirit of love. Amen. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
To be humble, to be kind. It is the giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend. To give in such a way that has no end. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other and nothing more. To be bold and to be brave. It is the thinking that the heart can still be saved. And the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger and the hanging on to it. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other and nothing more. The world is filled with endless possibilities. Heroes don't look like they used to. They look like you. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other and nothing more. We are how we treat each other and nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
Thank you, Persisters. I invite you to imagine awakening one morning from a deep and dreamless sleep to find yourself in the nave of a great cathedral. Look around you. Contemplate the mystery with awe. This cathedral is as ancient as humankind. Welcome to the cathedral of the world. Above all else, look at the windows. In the cathedral of the world, there are windows beyond number, some long forgotten, covered with many patinas of grime, others revered by millions, the most sacred of shrines. And each window in its own way is beautiful. Each window tells a story about the creation of the world, the meaning of history, the purpose of life, the nature of humankind, and the mystery of death. The windows in the cathedral are where the light shines through. This image of a cathedral of the world was written by Forrest Church, a Unitarian Universalist minister and theologian and writer. He's describing the theology of universalism, which is one of the two faiths that merged in 1961 to create our mouthful of our faith, Unitarian Universalism, which we just call UU. Church died of cancer way too young back in 2009, and in his last book, entitled The Cathedral of the World, A Universalist Theology, he writes, "A 21st century theology based on the concept of one light and many windows honors multiple religious approaches. It only excludes the claims of absolutists. That is because fundamentalists claim that the light shines through their window only. And some, as we know from the painful recent experiences, go so far as to beseech their followers to throw stones through other people's windows. Some people have trouble believing in a God who looks into any eyes but theirs. Others have trouble believing in a God they cannot see. But perhaps although none of us can look directly into God's eyes, certainly doesn't mean that God isn't there. Mysterious, unknowable, gazing into our eyes through the windows of the cathedral of the world. So what is the light that shines through our window, the window of Unitarian Universalism? And this is actually a similar question to the one that I raised in my first service back here about the little Sufi tale, where the river is coming out of the mountains and thinks it's destiny to cross the desert. What is our wind? The wind of Christians is Jesus Christ. What is Unitarian Universalist wind that can carry us across the desert and drop his rain on the other side? So what is our window where the light shines through? What is our wind? There was an article in the monthly Church of the Larger Fellowship publication, Quest, in which theologian Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker wrote an essay about the challenge of UU theology. She writes, "Some of us are asking, is there a center to Unitarian Universalism? Or is it like the story of the blind persons describing an elephant, where one feels its body and describes it as a wall, and another feels its legs and describes it as a tree, and another feels the tail and describes it as a rope? But after all of our thinking and surveying, is the one thing that UUs can say for certain is only that there is no elephant? Parker asks, do we have a theological center? And why are we asking about this? When did pluralism become a problem? Pluralism, the diversity of belief and unbelief that we have in our congregations, is both the challenge and the blessing of UU theology. Instead of reciting the words to a creed together each Sunday, as some of you perhaps did in your childhood faith, I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. I believe in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord. Instead, UU congregations like this one are bound together by our covenantal ties, the promises that we make to each other. The ordination ceremony this afternoon will include a making of promises between Kevin Mann and with this congregation. And later this month, during our service on October 22nd, we will have what's called an ingathering of new members. And one of the keys to this ceremony is the covenant that is formed between the new members who are now joining this congregation. So the essence of these covenants in this pluralistic community is a promise to be accountable to one another. A covenant isn't like a contract. It doesn't have the enforcement of law, Instead, it has the force of conscience. Are the promises that we make to one another, guided by our inner voice of conscience, enough to hold us together as a faith community through good times and bad? Well, based on the experience that I have had these last 30 years as a Unitarian Universalist, with my ministry and with my life, I tell you that I believe that our promises are enough. The strength is in our integrity, our good faith striving to keep our promises, and knowing that we all make mistakes, and when we do, we forgive ourselves and each other, and we begin again in love. But I know that Unitarian Universalism is not an easy faith. I have heard some people talk about it as a grown-up faith because we are not spoon-fed what to believe. Rather than being given answers, we are challenged and supported as we live into the questions and live into our answers. And you know, Unitarian Universalists actually embrace doubt because we know that Unitarian Universalism is a faith that we choose. It's an examined faith, one that would never require us to believe something that our experience tells us is not true. I had a spiritual director in Colorado who counseled many different ministers of different faiths, but one day she told me, "You're my only Unitarian Universalist minister, and you know what? You are the only one who would never have to say from the pulpit something that you did not believe." Also, I remember in one of my early services in Colorado, I started the worship associate program, and so one morning I did my sermon and the worship associate did a reflection, and after the service, this woman comes stomping up, and she was mildly outraged, and she said, "Did you know that that woman contradicted what you said? And you're the minister." And I said, "Isn't that wonderful?" Our faith is big enough that we don't have to think alike to love alike. James Luther Adams called it the prophethood and priesthood of all believers. So our view is that what each of us knows about God is a piece of the truth, and we see beauty in that diversity. But in that diversity, and in us not thinking alike, our lack of a creed can create a challenge in articulating what we do believe. Rebecca Parker offers the image of our UU faith as a circle that can be helpful in figuring out what is it that holds us together. So the circle is a boundary. It holds some things in, and it holds some things out. So it's like a cell. The cell of a body has a permeable membrane, but it really does have a shape where things that flow in and out of that membrane still have a boundary. And so Parker asks in this article, what is the boundary? What is the membrane around what Unitarian Universalism holds inside the circle? So when I was a seminary student at Star King School for the Ministry, Rebecca was my theology professor, and this is what we studied for our whole class. So Parker writes that based on our 2 centuries of Unitarian and Universalist history and theology, that we can identify some options that are outside the circle, the big tent of Unitarian Universalism. So Parker said, while we're open to many things, you can't really believe anything you want and still be a Unitarian Universalist. There are limits. Unitarian Universalism is not nothing, it is something. And there are theological options that are beyond the pale. So here are 4 examples of what Rebecca Parker gave in terms of what's in our circle and what's outside our circle. First, you can hold the view that there is no God or that God does exist, But you cannot hold the view that God is some all-powerful determinator who controls everything that happens. So we hold that the exercise of human freedom is real and an essential characteristic of life as a UU. So free will, freedom of choice, is inside our circle as together we co-create our world each moment. It matters what we do with our lives. Second, you can define salvation, healing, and wholeness in many ways, but you cannot hold the view that there will be an ultimate separation of the saved from the damned, by which the good are rewarded with eternal bliss and the damned are punished with eternal suffering. So Unitarian Universalism is clear that all souls are of worth. So universal salvation is within our circle. It's a blessing we were born. Third, you can be devoted to a specific religious practice such as Christian prayer, Buddhist meditation, chanting, pagan rituals, but you cannot hold the view that there is only one religion that encompasses the exclusive final truth for all times and places. Not even Unitarian Universalism. We are confident that the sacred impulse towards justice, compassion, and equity moves in many times and places, in many different ways that can call to us and teach us. So diversity and openness to change are within our circle. What each of us knows about God is a piece of the truth. Revelation is not sealed. And then finally, fourth, you can see this world as tragically flawed, wondrously gifted, or both, but you cannot hold the view that salvation is to be found solely beyond this world, in some life after death or a world other than this world. We do remain open to mysteries that may be revealed beyond the grave or perhaps in another world. But our UU faith is clear that the ultimate is present here and now. It can be grasped and glimpsed and experienced, even if only partially, within the limited frame of our mortal existence. So this means that we don't hold out some hope that in the sweet by and by. Within our circle, we hold that it is this world, this life, this world, this life, these bodies that are the dwelling place of the sacred. Let the beauty we love be what we do. And because we are in this beloved circle of community, we don't have to do it alone. So within the circle, we have free will, freedom of choice as we co-create our world. We have universal salvation, diversity and openness to change. And finally, this world, this life, these bodies are the dwelling place of the sacred. So within these theological boundaries of our UU circle, there's room for tremendous variety, diversity, and dissent. But there is also a defining focus. We are devoted to the flourishing of life. In each moment, we have a choice, and we seek to affirm life with each of the choices that we make. Our sacred circle draws us together in a passionate love for life. But you know what? It also sets us apart. It sets us apart from a religion that supports holy war in service of a God who is imagined as the destroyer of evildoers. It sets us apart from a religion that looks forward to the end of the world, that welcomes environmental apocalypse and war as signs that this earth is soon to pass away, and that then any late faithful can be carried by the rapture into a new heaven and a new earth. And it sets us apart from a religion that says one thing and that does another. A hypocritical religion that doesn't walk its talk. I seem to have lost the last page of my sermon. Let me see about this. Well, I know I wanted to end. Remember I told you that I had what would I do without jar? It's a miracle. And remember wabi-sabi? Wabi-sabi. A wabi-sabi moment. So on Sunday mornings, as we gather in this pluralistic community of seekers, how will we worship? In closing, I want to offer these words of Kenneth Patton. Let us worship not in bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears. Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our beings, with the full outstretching of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship and let us learn to love. May it be so.
As we get ready to ordain Kevin Allen Mann this afternoon and to launch our stewardship campaign next Sunday, we invite you to be generous in supporting the mission and vision of this congregation. I offer you these words by Eric Walker Wickstrom about what we do when we gather like this on Sunday mornings. Here today, in this place, and with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know. And may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. Will the ushers please come forward to receive the offering? And if this is your first time with us, please let the basket pass you by. We thank you for your presence here today. And here are the Persisters again to sing for us.
Every time I feel this way, this old familiar sinking, I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted by and by. I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. It's been said, and I do believe, as is you ask, so shall you receive. So take from me these troubles, bring me sweet release, where the river will never run dry. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted by
will you please join me as we bless our offering? To the work of the church, which is weaving the tapestry of love we call community, we dedicate ourselves and these our offerings. Our closing hymn is number 323, Break Not the Circle. So please stand as you're willing and able and join us in one more song.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.